Hi YouTube, Darth here. For the last year and a half, I've been relatively dormant with video creations. Now I have several reasons for that, and part of it has been that Battlefield 1 pretty much took my desire to engage with the Battlefield series away from me. I got really tired of constantly battling uphill against the terrible auto balance. Last year, instead of Battlefield, my primary gaming go-to has been World of Warcraft. It's one of those games that I think is great to play by yourself or in a group, but isn't terribly interesting to watch videos on. Now, I don't play Warcraft to some extreme level, and it's a game I really only played off and on over the last 18 months, but I visit it every now and again since release. Over the last 14 years, there have been a lot of expansions, and I've played most all of them. The only expansion I haven't played at all, at least in its prime, is Warlords of Draenor, which is probably good as playing through the leveling content wasn't terribly inspiring. With the next expansion only a month or so away, I figured that I would talk a little bit about the current expansion, Legion, and why I think it's the best expansion Warcraft ever did. Maybe the best one they'll ever do. First and foremost, this expansion had head-crushing amounts of content. Each of the 5 zones made themselves feel like they had 3 or 4 times the normal amount of quest content. When I was first playing Legion in January of 2017, I remarked on just how dense the maps felt, and I was genuinely impressed at how every square inch of the zones seemed to be used for something. After a few characters, I developed some preferences for leveling areas, but there's honestly so much of it that I preferred running dungeons after doing all the zones. Doing the Suramar questline alone took actual weeks of time when I first set out. In addition to the quest zones, every class has their own class hall complete with its own quest chains. But wait, not only that, but you got 3 legendary weapons for each class that also came with its own quest line. And mount quests, and champion quests, the list was endless. We also got an entire planet with 3 new zones halfway through the expansion. There's so much content in this expansion that I was thinking that the expansion would be the death of alts, at least as far as I was considered. You'd have to play 30 hours a week just to keep one character at top gear and shape. There was no way to play 2 characters at that level unless you were making Warcraft your second job. But all this content did provide for an endless amount of activity if you were interested. But I think one of the key improvements that WoW has made over the years is an accessibility of content. 10 years ago, I raided with one of the top 50 guilds in the world, and it was work. I don't have that kind of time to dedicate anymore. Back then, maybe 2% of guilds would see the top level content. Now, all dungeon and raid group content has roughly 4 levels of difficulty available to people, looking for group or raid, normal, heroic, and mythic. Additionally, the size of the group is up to the group itself, and you can raid with groups as small as 10 or as large as 25 or 40 in some very special cases. This isn't something that necessarily is new or unique to Legion, but I feel like it's pretty crucial for people like me who just want to play for 40 to 90 minutes and not burn out. Something that was new to this expansion is the concept of zones that are your level. Previously, whenever you wanted a quest, you had to match up the quest zone to your level. Now, zones will band to your level, giving you flexibility about where to quest, and with the added perk of not having to leave the story behind if you were into the zone's particular quest line. I think the tiny incremental improvements like these are something that players tend to forget when they're claiming that the vanilla WoW experience was so much better. Well, they're finally going to get that back too with classic servers coming back, but I'm curious to see just how fast those rose-colored glasses fade away after a decade's worth of incremental improvements are washed away. Now, one of my surprise favorites of Legion has been the storytelling snippets that are scattered throughout the expansion pack. There's a lot of voice dialogue, which I think is relatively new, save Warlords, which I did not play, and this adds a lot to a game that is 14 years old. But primarily, I was impressed by the number of in-game cinematics, pre-rendered cutscenes, and animated shorts. It really did a lot to help sell the story of Legion, and I'm really pleased that Blizzard took the time to put all this in, because closing the Burning Legion chapter of Warcraft is something that I think I've been eagerly anticipating since probably Warcraft 3 in 2003, 2004, somewhere around there? I'm actually kind of surprised how far they took some of the story elements after leaving them at a glacial pace for the last 10 years. I feel like Kata, Pandas, and Warlords were side adventures that really didn't move the universe forward terribly much, but were interesting in their own right. And I still have somewhat of a fondness for the Pandas expansion. Now, I'm kind of curious where the next expansion, Battle for Azeroth, is going to go with the franchise. I haven't been paying a whole bunch of attention to it, and despite being invited to the beta, I haven't played any of that either. I assume when it comes out, I'll play it at the same casual rate I've been playing WoW for at least the last year, about 5 or so hours a week. Unless it knocks my socks off, and then it might be substantially more. And I'll have to see how that works out this fall, since I'm already definitely interested and bought into Battlefield 5. But that's it for this short video on WoW. I figured I'd give a little one-off insight into what I really appreciated about the Legion expansion and where I've kind of been for the last 18 months as far as YouTube video game playing and just that whole thing. It is nice to have a relaxing game to come to that is part of nostalgia and doesn't require me to sit on the edge of my chair and rage at my team. Like I said earlier, I think Legion's the best expansion Blizzard has done, and I genuinely hope that the next expansion is every bit as good, because I definitely enjoyed my casual experience with this one. But looking forward, I'm even more excited for getting back into Battlefield this year. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, YouTube.